Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Sacramento Dugout. I'm your host, Jess Lima, here with Dominic Morris, and our two guests, two coaches from other teams, just like the Sacramento M's from the Sacramento area. We've got Todd Conray from the NBAO baseball, and we've got Ken Valencia from the Auburn Wildcats. Thanks, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
We're going to go ahead and roll right into things. First topic of the night. So, what do you guys look for when you're putting a team together?
Ken, you want to start this?
Yeah, well, basically, you want balance. First thing you do is you want to build around pitching, something that we probably didn't do as well as we'd like to have this last year. But when you play that many games in that condensed of a time, you start wearing arms out. So you start with the pitching, build that, and then I always try to get some Division I guys. I have some pretty good relationships in Division I schools, so you want to build that up, give you a good foundation, and then you start bringing in the junior college guys, and then I finish up with some of the seniors from high school. But you want to, that's the way our program works. We play, we do a lot of traveling, play competitive schedules, so we try to get that balance all up and down.
Like kind of arm focused.
Yes. Oh yeah. Definitely got to have arms.
I agree. It's definitely essential. You play 40-plus games in the summertime with players that already played their spring season. Like, you need multiple arms. Starting pitching, relief pitching, safe pitching. That's all like a part of building a team. And kind of like after that, I do look out. I look for skilled players up the middle, solid center fielder, solid shortstop, second baseman,
right.
Somebody that could
Gotta have a catcher.
Be there every day. Gotta have a solid catcher. Those key positions, and then you can kind of work your way around the rest. But that nucleus of pitching plus skilled position players up the middle is what I look for.
I'm a little different. I look for, usually I try to get pitching. Everybody tries to get pitching, obviously. That's the hardest thing to get. And in the summertime, if guys have been playing a lot, they're not going to want to throw a lot. The catcher is a huge one for us, too, is trying to find a college catcher, because the high school catchers can't compete at the level that you're looking for. And then I'm looking for guys who just want summer reps. Okay, because I'm not big about, we play a lot of games, and I open the games up to many different areas of ages, so the guys can work with the younger guys, or they can play with older guys, so they get an opportunity to go places that they've never got to play in, and get a chance to play that they probably didn't play in JUCO ball. A lot of guys are looking for reps, and some of these high school kids, but a lot of guys that I'm getting are guys who are injured or oft injured, and they're coming back from injury and they want to play and they're looking for a guy, and I'm fairly inexpensive, so guys will come to kind of gravitate to me. Or even guys like Dominic who will send me a guy, say, hey, you have more games, I want this guy to play for you. So that's how I do it.
Right. And there's a lot of, we're not going to get those Stanford starting pitchers.
Right.
We're going to get, your JUCO guys looking to go to a school sometimes. Red shirts. I get a lot of red shirts, a lot of young red shirt sophomores or freshmen, and med shirts, guys that didn't play last year because of an injury or illness or something like that. So, and to be honest with you, that's where we get a lot of our innings from, are those guys, because they're the ones that haven't played 52 games already or whatever that schedule is.
Yeah, I have a little angle that I go off of. I kind of go off of like a group mode. So I'll get guys that all went to Vista Del Lago High School. Mm-hmm. They're at different colleges right now, but they're all a group. They grew up playing together. And as soon as I get 2 or 3 of them, 2 or 3 more want to come on and play. So I look at it again kind of groups of friends. There's pros and cons of it, but that's the best way to kind of bulk up your roster.
Make sure you got guys, they're coming out and they're going to play.
Yeah, as an ex-high school coach, doing that and now coaching at the next level, you get guys that wanted to play for you anyway, okay? Yeah. Or you get guys who you want from your college to play for you, but a lot of guys are from the LA area, so they go home or they go somewhere else. So you try to keep the guys local, but then you give them a shot. Say, hey, look, you want to go to school? Maybe you got an opportunity here to look. There's some good schools up here, and so on. So that's a big one.
So now you guys you've constructed your team. You've got bodies. You've got arms. So now you're going about your season. Is there a particular philosophy? I mean, you said reps. I mean, these guys are here to get work, but at the same time, you're out there playing. I know how it is.
Mine's fun.
Recreational, still you want to win, though. So now, is there an aggressive style, maybe a small ball focus, that sort of thing? Now, what are you guys focusing on philosophy-wise?
So with me, a lot of our games are double headers, 4-game weekends. So I like to put a competitive squad out there, but I know on that second game, I put the other players in, so everybody plays. To make a road trip, everybody at least get an at-bat,
a few innings,
get an innings, get a look, So I always tell my players straight up, looking for a competitive team, but if you show up, you're going to get your opportunity. But that's why I go in. Usually all the players, they respect that. They respect the pecking order. And players that's like on the cusp, they work to get better. And they eventually get their shot. But I think everybody knows what's what. Like, these are young men. They're like growing up, so they understand what it is. And
That's good.
It works out for everybody.
Interestingly, you said that pecking order. I mean, there's a to me, it's like who shows up, right? A lot of times
Yeah.
we're looking for guys that are going to be there, but the guys that are in the pecking order are the guys that show up all the time.
Yeah.
They're the ones that want to be there. So to me, I give those guys an opportunity. And you try to find out why guys aren't making games. Is it because they're not getting game time? Or is there personal issues that they're going through, or work, or something like, you know?
Definitely, like if it's a player on the fence, like if it's a guy that show up, good attitude, a good team player, and it's a guy that kind of have like similar or better talent, but he's hit or miss, that other guy, that
Yeah,
guy
the
that
guy
show
shows
up,
up,
he's my starter.
Yeah.
Like I look at it like who's going to be best for my team, and I go off of people that's going to set a good example for everybody else. Yep. So.
Right. We kind of, we do a show or sit philosophy, to be honest with you, because I get a little weary of guys not showing up.
Yeah.
So we have a rule: if you don't make a game, you're going to sit the next game, and we try to stay too deep. We get, we talk about that. Our philosophy is you're out here to have fun. You're here to get better, and you're going to get out of the summer what you put into the summer. So if you come to California and you think you're just going to go to the beach every day and hang out, and we're not very close to the beach, but you're not going to get as much out of it. And so you go back to school, and I talk to your coaches, and he says, why'd Freddie only hit 220? I said, well, he didn't get his reps in. He didn't go out of the cage. He didn't do the things he needed to do to get better. So I preach that from day one. We have a mini camp, and it's all about what do you want to do to get better this summer. And then you got to perform, and they push each other. And I'm sure you guys see it, but you start getting these kids that might not be as strong with the skill sets as some of the others, but those kids are helping them get better as well. Yeah. We had 2 high school catchers this year that didn't get to catch much at all, but they're both going to 4-year schools, and they're ready to go. They might redshirt, but they're ready. They learned a whole bunch of things this summer.
Good.
So it's all about.
Cool. We have a heated up conversation. We got more to go, but we do got to take a commercial break. We'll be back with the Sacramento Dugout.
And like I said, I'm a short guy that wasn't that fast and didn't, couldn't hit the ball that far, but it paid off at the end, and that's a fantastic way to teach baseball.
Yeah.
And we're back. This is a Sacramento Dugout Show. We have a summer collegiate edition. We have some wonderful coaches here talking about the great game of baseball in the Sacramento area. Let's get right back into the topic. Ty, you wanted to catch on to our later point?
Right, on a philosophy, we talked about, reps are one of those things. But what I look for, too, is I think I look for guys who want to learn on their own. Guys that, how to play the game, figure out how to score runs, what defenses to run, how to be in the right spot. And then they can learn from guys who've been around a bit. Sometimes you get a guy that's really experienced but not smart. And so some of these other guys who are experienced and not really super athletes, but they know what they're doing, a guy can really rub off on that. And that's so my big thing on philosophy is we don't do signals, we don't do any of that stuff. We run if it's on their own, they bunt on their own, but when they come back to the dugout, if they didn't do something that they probably should have, I'll let them know that hey, that was an opportunity right there that you missed.
That's good.
Yeah, it's very good. I like that. Personally, I was always a skilled player, but I didn't have the greatest, raw athletic ability. So I had to rely on being savvy, being smart, anticipating a play, knowing your pitcher, knowing what he likes to throw in certain situations, so you can make sure you're set up defensively in the best position possible. I mean, that can compensate so much. I mean, it pushed me all the way to the collegiate level. And like I said, I'm a short guy that wasn't that fast and didn't, couldn't hit the ball that far, but it paid off at the end. And that's a fantastic way to teach baseball.
Yeah, I love it that way.
Yeah.
That's how I like it.
So I think we're ready to move on to topic number 2. So now folks come out, they see these teams on the field, they see, a lot of arms, a lot of talent, but what are some challenges that you guys face that you may not see as a spectator, as a fan, or even as a parent now having a kid involved with the program?
Oh, it's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot going. Just like I said, we're playing 40+ games, and we're dealing with 18 to 21-year-old kids, so they're not always the most reliable.
Yeah.
Like before, years ago, I had a big trouble with this. I had starting pitchers. I gave them a schedule beforehand, and I'll get a text saying, "Hey, I'm at the home field." I'm like, "Wait, we in San Jose right now. What are you talking about?" So I had just scheduling problems, players not showing, just certain things about just people being responsible and ready to play. I ran into a little bit of that trouble, and it kind of messed up the starting lineup and the cohesiveness of my team.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. With us, the biggest thing in our program is understanding how to keep these kids busy during their downtime. That's huge, especially for the out-of-state kids. A lot of them come. Where we're located up in the mountains, so we're in Auburn, we're in the foothills. But I live in Forest Hill, and we have all these kids, and there's no vehicle or very limited vehicles. So we got to get them around someplace, getting them into their gyms, things like that. To your point, the scheduling. I spend a lot of time on social media or on chat rooms. We have group chats with the players and sending out lineups and doing all that type of stuff. And then just the game management. Our program, we've grown a little bit, and we have a snack shack. We have just all kinds of things that are having to be done. And right now we have a pretty good staff of volunteers and a couple of paid people, but it's a lot of work. And you all remember my former coach Shannon, who did a lot. And this year I decided he went on to do something else, and I decided, well, I'm going to coach and I'm going to run the program. Yeah, probably not a good idea. So thank God for my wife.
I think that, yeah, exactly. The communications is probably the biggest one. It doesn't matter if you say, hey, I'm going to text you or I'm going to call you. Are you either going to answer it or not going to answer it? Yeah. So even creating group email, group chat, texting and things like that, and waiting for response, getting that's the one that kills me, Oh, yeah. And I have a mantra that said, we're not going to cancel games because we don't have enough players. I'll play with what I have, and I'll bring some kid up that I need to bring in the game, because I think that's ridiculous. You schedule a game with a team and you have to cancel. I can see, problems with canceling because of, maybe there is an issue or something, but basically, when we talk about it, we're going to get one here, we're going to get one here. If we have to cancel them, we'll cancel the second one. So there's a balance, and that's fair to the other guy.
Yeah.
I just don't think it's right when you expect guys to be there and they don't show up. That's the one that kills me.
Yeah.
Or the guys that say they're on their way. That's when we talked about earlier. I'm on my way, coach, I'm on my way, and they don't ever show up,
Yeah, that goes back to picking the players up, the character of the guys, and if they're right for your program, because it could be some guys that can waste your time or waste everybody else's time, and those are guys that you don't want a part of your program. But it's scheduling is one thing, players' responsibilities another. It's for me, it's picking up fields, just the whole fields getting schedule, all that is a little difficult of setting up the season for actual
the logistics of the whole season.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or like my field, I have a field, and a lot of people don't want to play there because it's all dirt.
Yeah.
But and it may not be full. It's not a full size field. It's 325 all the way around. But it's mine. I get to use it, right?
Anytime you want.
I need to, right? And I can schedule games. So I tell people in advance, hey, this is a dirt field. It's going to be ready for games, and I like the one umpire system. I think it's cheaper for everybody in the long run. I know a lot of guys get upset about 2 umpires, but with summer baseball, it's not like we're, I can see where Ken he's got a facility going on, he's selling tickets and so on. I'm not, but I do have my own snack bar thing going on. And so that's how I make some money to pay my umpires and stuff like that. But I think if we get the right guys in a group that we like to play against, I think that's the biggest one, is finding guys that we want to be against. That synergy is there, and we can talk and do things like that.
Yeah, there's a lot of time spent. I go to a lot of college games. I talk to a lot of college coaches. I watch, I'll watch ESPNU or 3 or whatever they're on, and be talking to people. And there's a lot of time. Our season really starts in about a month. That's when we're starting to schedule. We're starting to find places, trying to find people players, people to host players, all that stuff has to happen now. And we usually try to have the schedule done typically by January, February. Last year, because of the coaching change, I was a little bit delayed, and thank God these guys stepped up and gave me a lot of games. We like to get a good competitive schedule and travel around a little bit. These kids, coming from Southern Connecticut or Minnesota, they come to California, they want to see some California, so we try to mix some of that in too.
Yeah, that's a big one too.
Well, we know about the financial constraints, and so, but it's just each of you. You're the managers or the GMs per se. Somebody's got to coach these guys.
Yep. And we'll be there right after this break. Yep. We'll be back.
Yeah, that was what you decided to do. You just went GM route, man. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it took a lot of stress out of me too.
Yeah.
So we've got players on the field, we've got the logistics, things are scheduled, but somebody's got to coach these guys. So with the financial constraints, how does that work? How does it all come into play?
Yeah, well, with us, I've been lucky because I've had some guys that played for me that they're teachers, so they have summers off, and they come out and they have coached throughout the year. I look for somebody who wants to work with these kids, kind of like what Todd said. You don't want to overcoach a college player, right? They're all coming from programs. They've all been playing for, fall ball, spring ball. So we want people that know how to flex and make the adjustments that the kid needs and wants. And this year we had a pitching coach that did really good with that. He just
good guy.
Yeah, he stepped back, Tony Vargas, and he just kind of fine tunes the pitcher that what do you need, and he has a couple rules like pace of the game, things like that he steps in, and I just loved his approach, and we hit it off real well. I had another former player that coached this year. Then it was just the love of the game for him, and that's really the battle, is getting guys that just love being there. If you get a coach who thinks he's going to go from our program and coach at San Jose State or something like that, that's not going to happen. You want guys that want to be there because they like coaching, they like working with the kids, and that's really key.
Yeah, I did Ken's approach too. This following year, I hired a coach. Got a coach that's looking for opportunity. Like, that's what we're all about. We're all about giving people opportunity. And ARC coach Tim Fitzgerald, it was his first year. Head coach in our program, did a wonderful job.
Yeah, great job.
And I actually had a former player of mine who was a part of assistant coach. He was a guest on the show, Zach Kalish.
Yeah.
And played with us the first year. Played at different colleges, and he's going into the coaching realm now and know our program. So that's what it's all about. Like, just giving guys that's familiar with the program, that know what we're all about, know the philosophy, the mission statement, and let it all work out. So I was relieved, 'cause I got to work on other things like the multimedia aspect of it and just fine tuning it and growing the program.
It's a great model.
Yeah, it's a very good model. I mean, I'm the GM, I'm the coach, I'm the travel driver, I'm that guy, and Ken and I have talked, and we've talked about how to schedule, and a lot of times guys schedule, they'll schedule weekend series. I can't. I can schedule weekend series, but other teams are already doing that. So what I'm looking for is just games within where I can get them, and they may have 10 games in a row, and and that's what we have to deal with. But at the same time, I like to have conversations about baseball with the ball players to see how much they really know, because that's where they're learning. It's not just getting out there and spending the money or whatever, because it is very costly, and you get away with, I can take that, but there's guys who can't pay you and things like that. So, you get out there and do what you can to help them out, because really that's our job. We're trying to get them and keep them focused on the next level, get some of them to the next level, get some of those guys who haven't gotten to play, even that they're at the next level, so they're ready to be able to play.
Yep, we'll have more subjects on the way with the Sacramento Dugout Show. We'll be back.
welcome back. On to our next topic, kind of a big one, a little philosophical one. What inspired you guys to start each of your respective programs?
Who wants to go?
Well, I'll tell you, I've been doing this a long time. So it really started back in the Bay Area. I played, collegiate, semi-pro leagues for a lot. I've coached Little League, Pony League, high school, just had a love for it. And when I got to a point where I couldn't really play competitively anymore, I hung it up and I kind of focused on the kids. And a friend of mine one day, sitting in the barbecuing in the driveway, said, "Hey, Skip, let's start a team." I said, "Sure," and it was going to start off being with my sons and stepsons and being like a Sunday doubleheader type thing. And quickly, college players started coming out, and we just went from there. And once we went strictly collegiate and we got competitive, the passion it's there. I just stopped doing any other coaching. I just want to focus on the Auburn Wildcats. It's great. Loving baseball.
I think I've been coaching high school baseball now for 20 plus years, and I've been pretty successful. I just wanted to see what it was like to move forward. I did the Legion thing. I was a pony guy. I thought that brand of baseball was better. I knew that travel ball was going to kind of wreck baseball, and it did. So I wanted to kind of stay within the realms of getting guys locally. I'm a Citrus Heights, Roseville guy, so I mean those guys played together a lot. So there's a lot of guys in this area that played for me since '93, and so that's a long time. But we were local. We weren't one of those teams that went out looking. And I just kind of moved forward. I said, "Hey guys, if you want me to stay with you, we'll just go to the next level." So we'd move out of the high school realm and go into the college, and get going with that. And then the high school guys go, "Well, I want something to do too." So I kind of kept that part. So I have some sort of a feeder, but not particularly anymore. And guys, now that I'm coaching at William Jessup, I've got guys that are looking to play summer baseball so that they're prepared. So I just let them play for me that way.
Mine's is a little different. I come from a rec baseball background. Started up a rec league back in 2007. And one of my players said, "Hey, like, how about you do collegiate?" I was like, "Wait, what's that?" I didn't know what it was, but had a few players that actually played for like UC Davis, and they came in and played in our rec league, and they was like, "Yeah, it's a summer league for college players." I looked into it, I did the research, and I started up the next summer, and a lot to learn. A lot to learn. There's a lot of teams out there, a whole lot of good teams, a whole lot of competition. I was like, yeah, this is where it's at. So started back in 2012. One of the very first games was against your program, Auburn Wildcats.
I remember.
Got beat pretty bad, and then we played you guys again and got beat bad again, but we just learned. I learned it from like the ground up. Type of players to get, and I fell in love with it. I like the opportunity it gives for college players, for guys that's like, red shirt freshmen at JUCOs, and give them the opportunity to play with guys that play at 4-year colleges. I just like that dynamic, and that's like the origin of it though, just starting from rec league and kind of taking that same philosophy and putting it in the seconds.
I like the end point. I mean, one of the things is coaching's great. I mean, you can play a lot of games, you can lose a lot of games, you can win a lot of games, and it's okay. Really cool. But I like it when a kid calls you up and says, "Hey coach, can you help me out?" That's what I like. After the season, or I didn't get picked up to go to a college, can you help me out? Can you make a call or something? And I'll do that, because even if it's not going to the school I coach at, it's something that we're supposed to be doing. Yeah. It's not for me, it's for them, so.
Yeah, that's the beauty about this. You meet a whole lot of people, scheduling games, during this time, during like January, during the off season, and you build relationships, sending like players to certain teams and vice versa. Like you just build relationships. You never know like what program they're at, and you could actually help players out. That's what I like about it.
So how do you measure what's success? At the end of it, we'll do it on a season by season basis. At the end of this, so you play your last game. What measures a successful summer?
If my wife liked all the players.
Well, that's huge. I mean, he's right about that. To me, it's if they come back.
Yeah.
That's how I measure it. If they call me and say, "Hey, you got a team again."
Yeah. I go off of players that start, players that finish. So like this year,
right,
all 28 players was in the beginning of the season. All 28 was at the end. So I look at it like you're with me for this 2 months. You bought into it. You enjoyed it. You finished it through. I look at that as success.
Right. And
That is
it's-
success. That's huge.
you
Go
know,
ahead.
the kids coming back, and also the relationships, the sustaining relationships.
Right.
I keep in contact with a lot of these guys. We had a kid from South Dakota State came through weekend before last, called me up, hey coach, we're coming through, want to meet for breakfast, and he stayed with his host family, and we just build those relationships. I went and watched a couple of kids down at Fresno State against Youngstown State this year, and just went down there, met their parents, had dinner, and just had a great time. So it's really those relationships.
I think the one that really got me was with a kid that actually I think played for you a little bit. I don't know for sure. Robert Mashburn.
Yeah, man.
Right. Well, Mash went on and played. He got lost a year at the NAIA, and he went back and played. He only had 4 innings last year, but he played for me coming out a couple years ago. Last year he stuck around, and they made a mistake with his classes, so he didn't get to play summer. But he came out this year and he was done. This is it. He can't play. He has to go back and get his degree, but he can't play anymore. His eligibility's over, right? But he wants to coach, so now he's going to come back and coach my younger teams because that's what he wants to do. He wants to get into it. So that's kind of how you're giving back. You give somebody back to the game.
Yeah, that's right. We got more topics to go, but we do have to break right now. We'll be back with the Sacramento Dugout Show.
We're out. And welcome back, everybody. So we're going to end on one of our favorite topics here at the Sac Dugout. We like to touch on it, especially with all our guests, get their take. What happened, first of all, did you play? And secondly, because it's gone the way of the dodo, what happened to pick up baseball?
Man, that's sad.
Yeah, I mean, I'm probably the senior guy around here, but
I
we all know the biggest thing is probably video games. I mean, that was probably the number one. The lack of trust in society. I mean, it was nothing for us to go to the ballpark, and play and play till dusk. Nowadays, you don't know who's in the park and who's doing what, and so the parents are a little bit nervous about sending their kids out there. I mean, when I was 10 years old, 9 years old, we were out from morning in the summertime, from the time we got up till mom said come home for dinner. We were out playing ball, whether it was tennis ball, baseball against the garage, or we actually had one time where we challenged another street and we all set up our bikes as a home run fence.
Wow, yeah, that's
and
cool.
My neighbor's dad got a lawn chair and sat behind me as the catcher. I had a mask on, that's it. And we played. He called balls and strikes, and we beat him like 52-4.
Yeah.
I still hold that against him.
Sound like, okay.
Yeah, that sounds exactly right.
That was great.
We did. I was a Watergate guy, so we had the Watergate trials on. That was terrible. So we had to do something, man. I mean, so we went out and played. But we played. We played home run derby. We would go to the local park, and I lived in Citrus Heights, so Rush Park was our place. We'd just go over there and hit, and have a great time. We'd right field was closed or whatever, and we'd go out and play. But pickup was the best way because you could do whatever you wanted. You could be whoever you wanted.
Yep.
And I think that Ken and I were kind of about the same age. Playing in the front yard, you would be the Giants, and you had to hit like everybody in the team. You hit right or left, and you learned how to do that. You'd throw pitchers like Marichal or some of those guys, and you get, because we didn't have coaching. I didn't have coaching like that. I had a nice guy that had one eye coaching me in pony ball, right? And so I'm going, hey, he was a great guy, but we had to learn how to play on our own. Yeah. Today, kids have way too much. I mean, they have YouTube, they can look at video, and it's gotten to the point where it's a business, and that's really what's sad about it.
Right.
Yeah, I grew up, decades later, but I played pickup baseball too, though. Like, I grew up in Oakland, and it was a park in East Oakland, right down the street from the Coliseum. We would play, it would be Oakland Beirut, and in between our games, we'll play a game called Dome, which is like home run derby. It's a makeshift pickup game, and we'll play that for hours on end. And but I do notice something that's changed though. Like, I tried to play pickup ball, in my later years, when I was in my teens with a couple of guys, but I noticed the fields are not there anymore. And the fields that are baseball fields, they're not open to the public, even if they're public fields.
That's a good
so
point.
it's it's hard to get guys to get. It's hard enough because you is battling against video games. People play other sports. People play, they roller skate. They skateboard. It's a whole other thing going on. But the guys that do want to play, I noticed that the access is not the same anymore.
Yeah, and I think that's very sad because I lock my fields at public in the park, and the reason I do that is so I don't get it vandalized, right? So that's the bad thing. But I think the big thing is that kids don't know anything about like three flies up or playing 500 or over the line. If they did all of these games, some of these kids would have more knowledge of the game, and we would be teaching more about the intricacies, not just the exactly another thing.
I mean, I pride myself on my hands. You know how my hands got good? Pepper.
Pepper.
You know how much pepper I played? I mean, just for fun.
2 glove, 1 glove, 0 glove.
Yeah, no glove pepper.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. So what Nick just kind of talked about is a big thing for me is the proliferation of the other sports. I mean, not knocking them; they're great. Even the extreme sports of skateboarding, the basketball is taken off. Football is the #1 sport in the world, and soccer, the other football. It's hurts me because I love baseball. There's not a sport in my eyes that better parallels the struggle of life. You're going to take your knocks, you're going to fail, and you're going to have to get back, and you have to get back in that box, or you're going to have to grab that ball and get back up on that mound and try it again. So that hurts me. And again, the field locking up the same way. I mean, I used to go either between games at my particular league, or even there was another league that I didn't play at, but it was close enough to my house, probably a good 20-minute bike ride. Well, guess what? I was there, and we'd be playing over the line. And it just so happens one of my dad's friends lived by there, so I'd hop over, could be throwing the ball against the fence by myself, and 2 or 3 kids would come by. Hey, we got our gloves. What do you know?
Another missing link, though, that I noticed like during my time is travel ball came in, and some of the players, some of my friends that would play with me a year before, they won't be able to play because they're playing like 50 games in the summer, or
ridiculous amount of games.
Or the coach won't allow them to play
as a 12-year-old.
Yeah, they won't allow them to play anything but their program. So we had a lot of guys that was like real specialized, and they'll go into indoor facilities and they'll hit with an instructor instead of going out and like playing with the rest of the kids. So I saw travel ball kind of put a big spike into just the love of the game, and like what you said, Todd, turn it into a business.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And like even watching guys hit fungos, it's really weird because pitchers, that was one of the things they ended up getting to do, right? Mm-hmm. But I've seen guys who can't even throw the ball up and hit it because they've never had to, and that's sad.
Yeah.
It's
just because I'm old, Todd.
I remember in my backyard, I would get the tube of the tennis balls, and I would sit there, a couple of them, and I would be Barry Bonds. I would be Jeff Canton. I would be the bottom of the 9th, down by 3 in Game 7, and guess who's hitting that grand slam? This guy. Because I'm tossing up to myself and hitting in the neighbor's yard.
Yeah, that's a great song too. The greatest, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, there's not as many heroes anymore. Maybe I'm old and it just feels like that. But when I was a kid, Willie Mays and McCovey and
that's,
Pete
in
Rose.
my opinion, that's baseball's fault. You've got multiple guys now, young guys, black, white, multiple ethnicities. Baseball's got the opportunity where they're fairly diverse. I mean, it could be more diverse, but they're fairly diverse, and they don't market their players at all. Well, Mike Trout, Giancarlo Stanton, these guys should be everywhere.
They are everywhere based on who you know about baseball. I think the biggest thing is that baseball is on too much. When we were kids, it was once a week.
WGN, and you only had, you were limited. WGN,
well,
TBS.
we didn't have that. Yeah, we had 3 channels, man, and it was NBC.
And you were lucky you got the game of the week.
Exactly
NBC
right.
Game of the week.
And we waited because that was what we got to see. And now we got to the point where Yankees are playing the Sox all the time. The Dodgers are playing Arizona or somebody. Yeah. Even the Dodger-Giant rivalry is really good. It's one of the best in baseball or in sport. But, we see everything.
I never thought about it. I mean, I love it because as a guy that's now washed up, I need to get my baseball fix.
I need
my baseball fix, so I get it every day. I turn on get home,
MLB networks,
Comcast, Sportsnet,
exactly.
It's on. Every day.
Quick pitch or whatever's on all night. You can't miss it. But and I think the biggest thing is like basketball's got the 3-point play and the dunk, right?
Yeah. Football's
got the great interception or the great long pass, and baseball's got the home run. Right? The steal doesn't make any difference anymore. People aren't stealing bases now. I think replays kind of killed a lot of the good stuff about it because it was letting an umpire take care of business.
Right.
I say if we're talking about, cause this is a whole Pandora's box, but since we're here, I might as well talk about it. Me, I love the game of baseball. I cannot watch a regular season pro baseball game.
Why?
It's boring. It's boring. Like watching a game on TV, it's way too long. The way it's so many things about it.
I don't know this guy.
Think about it. I love baseball.
You.
Like baseball is my number one sport. I just cannot watch it because it's not the same anymore to me. It's too long, too much mediocre pitchers, not enough good matchups. It irks me. I just
That's interesting because you're a coach, because I use it as a teaching tool. Okay, I mean, and maybe I am been doing it too long, but I'm looking at what happens, why we're doing it, what they're doing. It may be slow, but you can still get into the game. I won't watch the series. For some reason, I just don't get into it unless my team's in there. But I'm a guy that can watch a game. But if I go to like a Cats game, people hate sitting there with me.
I get it for like the nuances and a learning experience, but for me, as the selfish baseball, I want to see action. It's not there. It doesn't do it for me. It's like I look at the Warriors, I look at the Raiders.
Right. Yeah, I understand.
I'd rather watch the Warriors than the Giants. I mean, or than baseball in general. I watch the Giants every time they're on, just about. But honestly, I grew up listening to the radio. I grew up Easter Sunday listening to Lon Simmons and Russ Hodges calling Mays and McCovey, and I grew up that way, and I much prefer listening to it on the radio.
Me too.
Yeah,
same.
Well, two things. One is you get a lot more description. It's a lot more romantic, I guess, is the best way to put it. But it also, you can multitask a lot better. You're not.
Right.
I could see the game of baseball.
It is a good radio program.
Hearing it, I can't see I can't listen to the football on the radio. I don't like it. I don't like listening to basketball on the radio unless the Warriors are in the playoffs or something. But I could watch those on TV all day. But I would much rather listen to baseball on the radio. Yeah,
Ken, Todd, Nick, as usual.
Okay.
Thank you guys.
Hey guys, thank you for
We
having
could
us
go on
tonight.
for all evening, I'm sure. But thank you so much, and thank you guys for tuning in.
Yeah, so you can catch the Sac Dugout show every Thursday, Access Sacramento, as well as online on sacramentodugout.com. I'd like to thank the guests. Thanks, Jess. We'll see you next time. Like what Jess said, I think marketing could be a lot better. I see how basketball do it. I see how there's individual players, they put them up like representing the sport. But baseball just seems like it is about teams. I like it, but they need to let the players know who it is. People need to know who Andrew McCutcheon is.
Right, I get that. I mean, I understand that because the East Coast does. Unfortunately, us West Coasters, we don't get that. I mean, we get to see all the games, but the East Coasters don't. They have their body of people, right? They know who's the big guy. I think the biggest problem is that it is a team sport. It's the only team sport that legitimately uses a team concept. I mean, it's 9 guys versus 1. That's the classic fight thing. But when you think about it, it's not like football where you know what's going to happen and you can see what's going on defensively. You can make adjustments. Baseball, you can't. You can make adjustments based on a pitch. A guy may throw different areas or whatever. But from the real thing, kids don't get it. They don't understand the game. It's not like it's fast enough. They want everything super fast, as opposed to being able to sit back and watch what's really happening. That 3-1 count is a reason for that 3-1 count, not because he's trying to walk the guy. He's trying to keep the guy off. Hey, what you make him swing at the next pitch may not be a strike.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, I mean, there's a reason for some of that. Yeah, there's the time he spikes it or whatever, but that's just it.
I just think baseball goes off of nostalgia. They go off of yesteryear. They play off of memory. They play off of history and
memories, right?
Yeah. And basketball, football, they're all about the now. They're all about the future. And I think that's losing our generation because people of an older generation, they could cling on to it, but getting that new, fresh baseball watchers is not relatable because they're not into the new things where we're at. They're not connected with Snapchat. They're not in on these new waves that's going on. They're more on tradition. and that's what.
You hit it on the marketing a little bit. In football, you know who all the great quarterbacks. You know who Drew Brees is. You know who everybody
They don't
across the
have to be
country
great,
is.
and you know who they are.
Right.
You
Yeah,
know?
Eli Manning,
Baseball
everybody
really
knows.
focuses on the local marketing, especially on the West Coast. We get
that's true.
inundated with the Giants, and I love the Giants. I have
Yeah.
no problem with that. But you don't get much about Andrew McCutcheon. When LeBron's coming to town, you know LeBron's coming to town.
Yes.
Right, and then I think they need to your point, need to open up that marketing a little bit and get those big names, get them out there a little bit more. Have more, there used to be the NFL does the highlights thing, with I can't remember the guy's name, but
Oh, right. Yeah, he was great. Yeah.
and just doing the MLB plays of the week. ESPN did it for a little while with Web Gems, but it just doesn't
but
seem.
ESPN, because baseball wasn't hitting, that's why you see. I mean, baseball gets that on SportsCenter. It could be the middle of July or August right now, and or the beginning of August, when baseball's in its prime. And they're talking NFL training camps barely breaking, and an NFL story leads. So that's where, again, I think it's part and parcel. It goes hand in hand. As it declined in popularity with us as the viewer, ESPN's like, well, I'm not going to put something on the air, so there needs to be.
They're trying to keep them a young market.
Yeah, you got to work together. MLB's really got to do their part as well for major media to kind of follow
There is
suit.
more to this topic.
Yeah, much.
Yeah, I mean,
And,
just from the shows, you have ballers, you have fictional scripted shows in Hollywood.
We
that's
got one
based
coming
on
out this
football.
fall. It's a little far-fetched, but it's the first female pitcher in the MLB.
Right.
It's coming
It's
out
just-
on network television.
But they have the two that were playing for Sonoma that were, legitimately professional athletes.
Oh, yes,
yeah.
yes.
But here's what you say about tradition. It is traditional, and it is something about memories. I can still remember my uncle who played a little pro ball, sitting on his deck looking out over the mountains in Colorado because they had a AAA ball there, but listening on the radio because that's what he did. He sat there and listened. But hear me out on this. The reason we're losing that is because we don't stay with tradition. We want everything so quickly instead of keep going back to what our history is about. And we've talked about this in other shows, topics about the African American League and so on, things like that, about guys and forgetting about that. If we forget about that, then we're not moving forward. We have to keep those things in there, and that's what baseball's about. That's the one thing that's timeless about baseball. It is its traditions.
Gonna have to end on that note. Could talk forever, but
Yep.
I appreciate the conversation.